Hell breaks loose in the Arctic because Trump has just dragged Greenland, Canada, Denmark, Russia, and China into a dispute that old politics pretended not to see. This Tuesday, May 19, 2026, Washington sends a clear message. The north of the planet will not be handed over on a silver platter to Moscow and Beijing, while complacent allies demand American protection, make deals on the side, and push the defense bill onto the United States. Trump starts this new Cold War in the Arctic, pressuring Greenland, demanding more from Canada, and putting bases, radars, polar routes, minerals, and military presence at the center of national security. Trump is forcing the West to wake up before Russia uses its geographic advantage and China uses its money to turn the Arctic ice into a new front for global dominance. I'll tell you all about this in a moment, but right now, you'll want to be subscribed to the channel to stay well informed with real-time information and the best journalistic quality you've ever seen. Milson Alves, the standard of credibility. The movement started in Greenland, a territory linked to Denmark, and once again put in Washington's strategic sights. Trump's special envoy for the Arctic, Jeff Landry, arrived in Nuuk for talks with local authorities while the American government seeks to expand its military presence on the island. Greenland says it's not for sale, but the real point is something else. Trump put back on the table a question that Europe had been avoiding answering. Who will control the passage between North America, the North Atlantic, and the Arctic when Russia and China accelerate their presence in the region? The White House sees Greenland as a piece for defense, surveillance, and containment. The island already hosts the Pituffik Space Base, an American facility in the northwest of the territory, and the United States wants to strengthen its presence there under the Golden Dome Project, a defense system against nuclear attack. This explains why Trump does not treat Greenland as a mere diplomatic detail. He treats it as an advanced wall of the United States in the north of the planet. The Arctic has become a military corridor, a future trade route, and a vault of strategic resources. Whoever has radar, bases, runways, ports, and technology there will see first, react first, and negotiate from a stronger position. Trump realized that leaving this region in the hands of slow politicians, dependent governments, and complacent alliances would give an advantage to the adversaries of the United States. Canada came under the center of this pressure because Trump also decided to demand the defense of North America. The Pentagon announced a pause in American participation in the Permanent Joint Defense Board, Defense with Canada. Created in 1940, still in the context of World War II, Undersecretary of Defense Elbridge Cobb accused Ottawa of lacking credible progress on defense commitments, saying real powers must support their words with shared responsibility. This demand targets the Canadian government's defense. For years, Ottawa relied on American protection with the NORAD system and the military structure of the United States. But at the same time, it sought its own alternatives for equipment and agreements. Now Trump exposes the contradiction. If Canada wants to be treated as a northern power, it needs to fund more defense, more presence, and more responsibility in the Arctic. Sweden appears in this dispute because Saab offered Canada a package with 72 Gripen fighter jets and 6 Global Light aircraft. As part of Canada's review of its future combat fleet, the proposal also promises jobs in Canada and greater industrial control. For Trump, this kind of negotiation shows that allies want autonomy when they buy, but still expect the American umbrella when the threat arrives. Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping move forward in Beijing with a statement on a multipolar world and new bilateral agreements. Meanwhile, Washington watches Moscow and Beijing trying to claim and redraw the global order, while also showing greater interest in the planet's north. Trump sees the move. If the United States doesn't push now, the Arctic will become a maneuvering space for adversaries who already treat sovereignty, energy, and routes as political weapons. Russia has a geographic advantage in the Arctic. A large part of the Arctic coast is in Russian territory, and Moscow has been strengthening military structures, radars, and bases in the far north. China is not an Arctic nation, but it presents itself as interested in the region's roots and resources. This combination worries Washington because it brings together the Russian territorial presence with the Chinese economic appetite. Trump is not just provoking allies, he's forcing the Western alliance to move beyond nice talk. Greenland wants to ensure self-determination. Denmark wants to avoid friction with Washington. Canada wants more decision-making power. The Nordic nations want to protect their strategic neighborhood. But Trump puts everyone in front of the same fact. Without American strength, the balance in the Arctic weakens. The crisis also exposes the difference between leadership and crisis management. European governments usually respond with statements, meetings, and promises. Trump responds by putting the issue at the center of security policy. He knows that modern war doesn't just start when a missile is launched. It starts when a route changes, when a base is installed, when a satellite begins to monitor, when a port gains military value, and when a power realizes that its adversary wasn't paying attention. The history of the Arctic shows why this region has never been empty. During the Cold War, the United States and the Soviet Union used the North as a space for warning, surveillance, and deterrence. NORAD was born in this context, with radars prepared to identify threats coming through the shortest route between the two powers. The Defense Council between the United States and Canada also helped to sustain this logic of continental protection. Now Trump is changing this structure because he believes the old model is not enough for a new kind of dispute. Trump's move also has internal political value. He shows the American voter that the cost of defense can't always fall on the same shoulders. If allies want protection, they need to share the cost. If they want autonomy, they need to show capability. If they want to negotiate with Washington, they need to understand that Trump's United States will no longer accept being used as free military insurance while other governments talk about independence. Greenland has become the most visible face of this dispute because it is located at the point where North America and Europe meet in the north. A stronger American presence there improves surveillance, expands military response, and puts pressure on Russia and China before they turn the Arctic into their own sphere of influence. It is a decisive piece of the Western defense map. Canada also knows that the pressure isn't going to disappear. The pause in the Defense Council doesn't mean an automatic abandonment of the alliance, but it serves as a tough warning. Washington is reassessing old forums to see if they still serve the real defense of North America. Trump takes advantage of the discomfort. Using that as a tool, he pushes the allies out of their comfort zone and forces each government to decide whether they just want to complain or if they really want to carry military weight. Denmark tries to balance sovereignty, its relationship with Greenland, and dependence on the Atlantic Alliance, but American pressure reduces the space for ambiguity. Copenhagen may resist Trump's style, but it can't ignore that the Arctic has become a focus of competition among major powers. Denmark itself has increased military investments in the region in recent years precisely because it knows the threat is not imaginary. What happens now is a tough negotiation phase. Greenland will keep stating that it is not for sale. Denmark will try to protect its position. Canada will be pressured to spend more and make better decisions about its defense. Russia and China will try to show unity. Hell breaks loose because Trump took the Arctic out of the footnotes of diplomacy and put the region at the center of the modern Cold War. The dispute now runs through Nuuk, Ottawa, Copenhagen, Moscow, and Beijing, and the message coming out of Washington is simple in practice. Anyone who wants to talk about sovereignty, alliance, and security in the North will also have to talk about power, bases, defense, money, and American presence. I'm Milson Alves, an international affairs specialist, and my purpose is to keep you well informed with the truth every day. The news links are in the video description. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and at the end, check out the comments so you can be even more engaged with the Milson Alves community.